What do you want today?
I believe we're on air now. I believe we're on air.
We are? Oh, sorry.
That's it.
We are on here. Good
We are.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Thursday evening. It's time for Mek We Chat. Once again, we are here with you in New York. There is Margaret in London, Catherine, Beverley, and George are both in St.
Margaret in
George's,
London?
Grenada. Yeah, well, I give her London.
Catherine in London, Margaret in New York.
No, it's in New York, Catherine in London. Oh, that's the thing about you, right? Sometimes you just go all over the place. Yes, truly, I think stuff since. And we're here once again this evening to give you a sense of what we consider are the important issues, well, what we would like to discuss on this edition of Mek We Chat. Certainly, we want you to participate if you could, and we'll tell you how you could do that so as to make this very interactive and for you broadcast. And George, welcome. So long as I hand you over now to producer Beverley Sinclair.
Good evening. I have to say my very own good evening all the time. Mr. Suspecting Chief, good evening can't work for me. Not enough. So good evening to all the wonderful listeners here. And thank you so much for tuning in and joining us for this edition of Mek We Chat. Mek We Chat about the things that have been happening across the Caribbean and maybe in the diaspora, and try to get some sense of what's going on and look at how we can contribute to solutions and making a change, making a difference in what is happening in our communities. If there are things happening that you're not pleased with or that you don't think should be going the way they are going, then we are all alive, we are all here, and as long as we are here, breathing the air on this earth, we can make a difference. Don't let anybody tell you any different. You can. What is it that Barack Obama said? Yes,
we can.
Right? Where there is a will, there is a way. So once you feel that burning desire inside of you to make a difference, to make a change, don't let anybody stop you. Don't listen to the naysayers and the browbeaters and the ones who just like to complain and never do. You get out there and do something and make a difference. And that is what we aim to do here on Mek We Chat, to highlight the issues and to do what we can to make a difference. So this evening, it has been a turbulent week. The last time we talked about a turbulent week, it was in the Caribbean when it's like so many of the different islands were demonstrating and marching and out there on the streets. This time, the turbulence is with our partners in Europe. No confidence motions for so.
Right, left, right, and center. So we had one in the Caribbean too. We have one in the Caribbean.
We had one in the Caribbean. So over the last week, we've seen 3 no confidence motions. And we want to look at those and touch a little bit on what democracy is becoming, or what it has become, or where it has gone. So we look at those 3 motions, and we also want to take a look at the Brexit drama. As one of those no confidence motions, of course, was at the center of this drama going on in Brexit. In Grenada, the teachers and the government negotiating committee, the pension negotiating committee, have still not yet gone anywhere with the negotiations. The only positive
have they met?
That's the only positive thing, that they are still talking to each other. But from what I've seen, it's a stalemate. We need a skillful chess player to get this game to move on. If it was dominoes, would I say, who called the game? Somebody called the game. So we look at those issues tonight, and if there's anything else that we think we should discuss or that we will have time to discuss, then we will. Again, we have to say apologies for our friends in Dominica, who, despite what you may hear out there in the usual PR stuff that comes out of government, things are not going well in Dominica. Maria was last year, September, and people still have not gotten back their internet connectivity in many areas, including our suspect from Dominica, Ati. Ati has to travel miles to get a little internet connection, so he has been unable to join us as he usually does every week. Plus, with all the political upheaval that has been happening in Dominica, that country is in a very unstable way right now. So, lots happening out here in the Caribbean, and we bemoan the absence of a Caribbean news network so that we cannot get a real sense of some of these things that are going on. Cannot get proper news out of the islands because there's no mechanism to tell us what's happening in each territory.
In a real-time fashion.
In a real-time fashion. We know and get a little insight of what's happening here and there because we know people who live in these islands and they will share information with us. Some of the networks, the news networks online, you have to go through several sometimes to find something of interest or something that makes sense. That in itself is a very tedious task, and I don't have the time, and I don't know that anybody has the time to just sit there and try to follow everything across 200 different networks. It doesn't work. So we are starved. We are thirsty for information from our neighboring islands when there is so much going on that we should know about and that we should be giving attention. But we have some information on the no confidence motions and some information on the teachers' struggle and some information on the Brexit drama. So we look at those this evening and maybe some other things. So, Suspect in Chief, where do you want to jump off?
Good question. Let's start with Grenada. Let's see what's happening there.
Right. Well,
that's out the way.
It has not been any secret that the teachers and the government in Grenada have an ongoing industrial impasse. This actually came to a head in November when the teachers took to the streets over several days to press their demands and to highlight what it is that is causing the contention. And the bone of contention is that the teachers want to know that when they retire, when they get to age 60, they will have a 25% gratuity paid to them and the balance of their pension paid over the prescribed time. The government has said, we can't give you no 25% gratuity upfront. We can give you 2%. And of course, the teachers are having none of that. So that has been the bone of contention. The teachers took to the streets in November. They marched they had a march and they had industrial action where they stayed away from the classrooms for a few days. What that resulted in was at the end of the month, the government took money from the teachers' salaries, according to them, for the days they did not show up for work. I have been talking to some legal people about it, and I can't understand why the union's not pursuing the legal route with this one.
As usual. That is part of the thing to make a mistake about.
Yeah, from what I've heard from some legal minds, that is not how, under the Employment Act or under any act in Grenada, that is not how you take money from people's salaries. You do not take money from people's salary without their knowledge and without their consent. And in respect of public workers, there are rules within the public sector to follow to do that. None of those procedures were followed. I've even heard through reliable sources that not even the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education was involved in this thing. One minister just get up and say the pay is going to be docked, and next thing you know, the pay is docked. It doesn't work that way. And I can't understand why the union has not don't have this thing before the court already. I just don't get it, you know. But be that as it may, that is the bone of contention between the teachers and other public workers and the government pension negotiating committee. Where things are at the moment is that Fridays have been set as the date for the parties to meet. As far as I know, coming out of the last two meetings, another one is scheduled for tomorrow. The government has brought forth another proposal where they said they'd pay 8% gratuity, 8% over 8 years.
8% over 8 years, so you tell me is 1% a year?
1% a year, so something to that effect. And of course, the union has written back and said and asked for a financial breakdown of the cost and the impact of the 25%. I understand that report was produced or is being produced by the Ministry of Finance and should have been presented to the union by today. I believe they should have gotten it, as far as I know, to see the impact of paying the 25% and how it could be paid. Now, the unions have said that, look, we're willing to work with a payment plan, but 25% is it. And coming out of the government pension negotiating committee, it's like, we can't give you 25% gratuity, so we have to give you a different percentage. It's just a stalemate. They are not making progress with spinning top in mud. And I have long said, that a mediator is needed in this negotiation.
Yeah, seriously. Mm-hmm.
You need somebody who has the knowledge, the expertise, maybe it could be more than one person. Someone who understands the labor laws, someone who understands the financial landscape, someone who can really put the things together and present a proper summary of what the situation is and say, okay, this actually is the situation, so let's negotiate from here. Instead of having these two sets of people who there is so much bad blood and animosity between the two, but it is good that they are still talking to each other. But I really believe that if we want to get anywhere with this thing fast, we need to get a mediator or two, a couple of people who can sit between the parties and put on the table what is the legal standing, where is this thing legally, where is this thing financially, where can the twain meet, so that we can move forward. Because what is happening now, as far as I'm concerned, is a gross waste of time. It's an absolute waste of good time because the unions have legal argument for the 25%. The government has been taken to court twice already on the issue of pensions and gratuity. They have lost twice. The court has ruled as unconstitutional anything but what the Constitution says.
But that's my problem. There's precedence. So I do not understand the approach on this matter. There is precedence.
Of course there's precedent.
And that's what a court revolves around. So
but as I
don't understand it.
But I saw one of them making the argument today about that those cases did not apply to this situation. They were to the individual cases. And I shook my head because I mean, I'm not a legal expert here, but there is something called precedent.
Exactly.
And if there is a judgment on a particular issue, it doesn't affect that issue, but it affects any subsequent issues that come up that's similar or the same as that.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is what precedent is.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody who says that does not understand how law works.
Well, that is the line. That is the government's line, or that is what the government's minions are.
That's what the government would want the masses to believe, because the masses will vote that. The
Mm.
reality
Yeah, well,
is that's nonsense.
but the people that were making those arguments today that I saw were actually people who are the opinion makers for the government, you know,
Well, that's what I'm telling you,
and the
because they
government
want to give the
supporters,
masses that opinion.
you know, and I'm like, really, people, who you think you spitting this out here for? I mean, and I was surprised that nobody challenged the individuals on that and saying that, you know, there's precedent. So then, if you're telling me that precedent does not exist, then all the other cases that you've had in the Caribbean, I mean, are moot when it comes to any other country.
Exactly. That is
That
what.
is a joke.
So,
That is a joke. Just a
yeah,
joke.
because
It's a
anybody
joke.
who has any understanding of how judgments work, court judgments, every single judgment, especially for something happening for the first time, is a precedent.
Mhm.
But not only that, in this case, they not only have one. Sometimes all you need is one. In
Mm-hmm,
this case, you don't have one, just one case.
mm-hmm.
So that is what makes it so powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, if it was relevant, then, you know, if any judgment that come before on any matter for that is not relevant to something that's happening right now, then why is it that when lawyers are presenting their cases or going or preparing for a case, why do they go back how many 100 years if it means that way to see
Exactly.
what exists in
Precisely
the law?
so.
Exactly.
Precisely
So
so.
anybody saying that is just trying to just either they themselves don't know or they're just being
Deliberately,
plain.
yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that's it.
And that
That
is
makes no
why
sense.
a lawyer will dig to see when they have a case in front of the court, especially if it's a difficult case. You will see a lawyer dig and search to find if there was any case before similar to
Similar.
that on which a
Similar
Exactly.
to that.
judgment was made, of
Yes.
course.
Yes. Yes.
Because once the
In
court,
fact,
But that is how law develops in any.
exactly. That's how law is developed because
Mhm.
each precedent creates a different
Of
approach to the
course.
case the next time. So in fact, I was always very surprised that these people won these cases and basically, from what I could see, did nothing. Because once you've won a case like that, especially on a constitutional matter, you know, this is
exactly.
a constitutional matter.
Mhm.
Why didn't they move it forward? That has always puzzled me. Why you win, especially a constitutional case, and you just kind of just sit there? I could never understand that.
Exactly, because the union itself said that they had needed an individual, which is always the case in a situation like this when you want things. So it's nothing new that they did or novel. I mean, that's what happens. You look for somebody who is willing to be the guinea pig in a particular
Right.
case. And they were
Exactly.
looking for somebody, and somebody presented themselves.
When cases like this, the union will even pay for the person's case just to get the case before the
Mhm.
court if they feel it's strong enough to win. And once
And I,
it's won, they have the precedent. That's
and
it.
I understand that one of those cases, the unions paid for it or was involved in it. In
I
some
think
That's what
one
I
came up on
expect.
its own, and
Yes.
and they
That's what I
yeah.
expected to happen. So why have they been so reticent on this matter?
I,
So that
I,
it has to get here. It has confused
I
me
don't
every
know.
time.
I don't know. This thing should have been before the court again. Long time.
It's a constitutional case. Constitutional matters are
Yes.
taken more seriously by the court.
Look on the matter of hanging. When the Privy Council said, look, you can't have people on death row for a certain number of years. That was it, you know.
The
And
end of
it's
story.
funny,
End of
this.
story.
It's funny, that you bring this up, Beverly, because that was when I saw the person's comment, that was the first case that came to my mind. All other cases, if I didn't remember anything else, I remember when that ruling came down.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
One man went before the Privy
Yes.
Council and said, I have
One
been on
man.
death row for so long.
Mhm.
So they can't kill me again.
No.
Exactly. And they probably think that it applied to Jamaica only, right?
Yes,
No,
yes,
it's for
exactly.
the whole Caribbean.
Everybody,
Yes,
yes.
Pratt and Morgan is for the whole Caribbean. Plain and
Exactly
simple.
so. You know, and so I can't understand. As you say, people are either ignorant or they are just being propagandists.
But
Come
that is
on.
those lot. But on the other
Right.
side of the coin, right? I find that our Caribbean people, even people with influence and clout, are very, what's the word to use? They send their matters to be taken to court, and they just seem to be either afraid to take matters to court. I just don't understand why. Because there are certain matters. People talk about the court was supposed to open on a Sunday and all that. There are issues that can pull the court out if people cheated them.
know. I mean, that was another thing that was so laughable.
Laughable. People making big issue of it.
Courts run here 24/7.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've
midnight
been in
court,
court.
all kind
I've
of
been,
thing.
and there's
Of
been
course.
one night when they had a case for a guy to be hung, and they had to go to court. It's 8 o'clock the night to be in court.
But remember that within the same impasse, the government had moved to open the court on Sunday.
But that's the point I'm making. And people making that was such a big deal.
Yes.
The court is supposed to function when it's needed.
Exactly.
So if there is an urgent matter,
This urgent matter, especially if it's a
gotta-
constitutional matter, the court needs to meet.
mhm.
Yeah, so it's like, somebody gets sick and they need emergency surgery, but it happens to be on Sunday. And guess what? Oh, by the way, the doctors can't perform surgery on Sunday.
Because on Sunday.
Exactly. So
What's Dennis can't come in.
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know why it is that the unions have just gone to court with this thing and cut out all this stupidness that I call it.
Go to court.
Stupidness.
And they could take this matter, I'm sure, to the CCJ.
And because the government has clearly demonstrated that they have no qualms about going to court at all.
Mm-hmm.
They have already demonstrated that. So I just don't know. And I it's just one of those things where I say we just like to play nice. We want change, but we want change on very easy terms. And
Exactly.
historically, I don't know where that happens, Somebody chop off your foot, and they bring you a pair of crutches and they say, "Oh, you're such a nice person. You bring me crutches."
And then the other hand, they hold in the leg, they chop off.
Yes. That is the kind of attitude that I see people present at times. So if I was in the union, if I was a member of the union or a member of the teaching body, I would be advocating for this matter to go to court so that
They should go to court. These
Maybe
are
somebody
issues
should take the union to court for inadequate representation.
that might wake them up.
Exactly.
So.
No, I'm serious.
Precisely so.
We have to, and that is why I've been saying, that for example, people in administrative control, like permanent secretaries, have done. You see who they have begun to blame for all the permanent secretaries. But they've been the minister now.
No.
And these people in this position need to understand that if anybody gets sued, it's them who are going to get sued.
Yes, because I understand that the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education did receive a letter threatening legal action when this salary deduction thing happened. And I don't know why it stopped there, because the permanent secretary, I have heard, was not involved in this thing. Nobody asked him to participate in this docking of salary. It happened without his participation. So when the legal action comes up, that could be his defense,
No, that is his defense. Because the people who took the decision will have to answer to the court on what basis did you make that decision?
Exactly.
Are you in an administrative control of this?
Exactly.
We need to test some of these things, because too much foolishness goes on in our administration. And people assume that the minister is in charge. Let them go ahead. I tell you, the day somebody pull, a lot will change. A lot will change.
Because it's the same thing we hear the members in Parliament. It was the Minister of Finance in Parliament talking about how much permanent secretaries are paid more than ministers. They are supposed to be paid more than
Of course.
Where does that comparison come from?
I don't.
A permanent secretary is a permanent employee of the government. A minister can go on in five.
Yeah, my question, I mean, I don't have a problem paying the minister, but my question is, what have you done?
No.
I have no problem paying the minister, but he cannot compare himself to a permanent secretary.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hear that. I agree with you on that. But I mean, even to justify a raise, though, what have you done to justify that?
Exactly.
You cannot comparing a minister to a permanent secretary is apples and pears.
Absolutely.
The minister is supposed to be reporting to the permanent secretary.
Exactly.
The permanent secretary is there to ensure that the public service remains intact.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know that ministers come and go, and quite
Mhm.
frankly, we also know that a lot of these ministers are ill-informed, ill-equipped, have no experience or no knowledge whatsoever of the
Exactly.
cases they have been given. So the permanent secretary is there to ensure that the ministry is run properly. Why these elected members of parliament believe that they come in, you get elected yesterday and you come in today, come take over from the PS, you don't.
Because a lot of the PS just step aside and let the minister make all the decisions in the department. That's it. It happens until
do that.
one of them gets
They
sued
do that.
for not taking control of a situation. Then is when they will understand.
Yes, there are things to be done. I know as a matter of fact that there are things to be done, and the permanent secretary will sit and wait on instructions from the minister before they get up and go and do their jobs.
Is it that they don't know? Sometimes I sit and I wonder, what is the orientation like when a person comes into the civil service? How does the orientation take place so that a person knows what is their responsibility, especially as they progress up the ladder? I wonder that sometimes.
Well, that's a good question. That's a really, really, really good question, because I mean, I don't know if people know. I don't know if there's an orientation. It seems to me,
I don't think there is.
ideally, how many people that come into the service come through what is supposed to be the proper channel, which is the Public Service Commission.
Exactly.
Right? Most positions most people come into the service through the back door. So to start with, if you come through the back door, then you have problems. Because
not just come to the back door. When you come to the back door like that, many times they want you to just ease in and stay quiet. So
right. Exactly.
The easy answer.
But when you come through the back door like that, you feel like you have some obligation to the people who bring you through the back door.
Yes.
I heard just this week, I hear a young man who said he's applying for a job in a ministry, and he's given the application to the minister. And I'm like, why to the minister? Yes, I guess.
Let me tell you something.
He was the short of the answer, and my interpretation of it is that he's led to believe that is the minister have to get the application. Why is that job application going
Beverley,
to?
let me tell you all something. In St. Vincent, what is a job person looking for? A piece of this or that? Everybody is pointed to the Prime Minister. I've had friends of mine. I said, why are you going to the Prime Minister? Because it is encouraged. It's as if nothing could happen in the country unless you go to the Prime Minister and he gives it its blessing. This is the mentality that you have created.
And
it is annoying.
An elected member of parliament is not supposed to have any say or any sway in the hiring of people for a job in the public service. No, they're not supposed to. But the public service over the years has become a political hiring ground for party supporters. And that is why it is so ineffective in dealing with certain things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is the type of mentality, this is the type of mindset I grew up with in Grenada. I thought any job you have to get in the government, you got to go to the Prime Minister. That's why I thought this was supposed. I thought they are the recruitment manager. They recruit you. I don't think there is no other channel to go through. I thought it was like that. I thought
a lot of people think so.
No, you're supposed to go to get inside. Yeah, you go through the commission and you get an appointment letter, because once you are, if you go through the commission, one of the things you will get at the end of the day is an appointment letter.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you get an appointment letter.
I thought there was no other channel, so that's the only channel you can get to get a job in the public service.
They would like people to believe that because it leaves them with a certain sense of authority and look as being the boss. But that's the civil service, right? The civil service is perhaps it used to be the one thing that the colonialists left us. And it used to work. But increasingly what we have seen, as in almost every institution of democracy in recent time, it has been steadily eroded. Because the whole point of the civil service is to provide some insulation between the government and what happens with the day-to-day functioning of the government. It's supposed to provide the insulation, and that is why a minister cannot dictate literally to a permanent secretary.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Guys, hold on. Let's take a break and come back and continue with this discussion because it is an extremely important point.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hubbard's, bringing you Frigidaire Christmas cheer. With the purchase of any Frigidaire fridge, freezer, stove, washer, or air conditioning unit, you get a free 3-piece Frigidaire non-stick pot set. Come into our appliance department on the Carronage and Building Supplies Grandance to get your trusted Frigidaire products and enhance your cooking this Christmas. Offer available while stocks last. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Boy, it's Christmas again. Spread some cheer and show you care with GRENADABROADCAST Give-A-Wish promotion. Do you know someone who has had a challenging year and deserves some good fortune, or a worthy cause that needs extra support? Grant them a wish this holiday season with GRENADABROADCAST. Just pay your bill in full, then write their name, address, and phone number on the top portion of your bill. Add your phone number and drop it into the wish box at any of our GRENADABROADCAST customer centers, or you can enter online via our Facebook page. 15 customers will receive a $500 electricity voucher for giving a wish to someone who deserves it. And 15 winners will each have their wish granted, valued at up to $1,500. What's more, 230 lucky customers will win $75 electricity vouchers. Spread the cheer this year with GRENADABROADCAST Give-A-Wish promotion. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 21st.
Why wish upon a star? For bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Welcome home.
Welcome back to this edition of Mek We Chat, Thursday evening, 13th of December, shy of 2 weeks before Christmas. And I don't know what people's plans are, but here we are as we ease down to Christmas in the leftover month of the year. Yes, you were saying, Beverley?
It's the best month
of the year.
Absolutely best month
Lord.
of the year.
We'll
There
take a
is
sip.
nothing left over about December.
Exactly.
December is the month. It's where
Leftover month of the year.
everything happens. It's the month that makes the most sense on the calendar.
Leftover month of
So,
the year.
all you jealous people,
You know, that's exactly what it is.
just learn to deal with it, okay? You could not choose the month in which you were born. So the fact that you didn't get to be born in the best month of the year, don't be jealous now. That's just
I know, right?
yeah.
I thought we were supposed to be getting back to all of Catherine, could you speak to these people, please?
Yeah, we'll speak to them.
Yes, please.
Yes, we were looking at the role of the PS, the permanent secretary, in relation to a minister before we went on.
Well, I think it's slightly broader by saying that the structure of the civil service is something that came to us from the colonialists, from way back when. Okay, the Westminster system is part of the Westminster system, and it was structured in such a way that the political directorate cannot come in and dictate what happens in the day-to-day administration of the government. They can set policies, that's their job. They can ensure that the policies that they've set is carried through. But the job of the permanent secretary and people like that is to ensure that what they're being asked to do fits with the administrative responsibilities that they have, fits with the law that's there, and follows due process in terms of how the civil service should work. That's the function of a civil servant.
Mm-hmm.
They don't work for the government.
And what happens?
Well, not for the government. They don't work for the political party. I think I need to make that point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What happens, I know in Grenada and in many other islands, is that soon after an election, you know, it's the rotation of the permanent secretaries. Cabinet secretary move and PSs all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wonder, how does this happen? Does the Public Service Commission just sign off on these transfers, take a piece out?
Yes.
Take
Absolutely.
a piece out of agriculture, put them in tourism, you take one from here, put there, without any thought of how this is going to impact on the running of the ministry. And it just happens all the time. And even within the term, within the cycle of an administration, permanent secretaries are just moved.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
You know?
Even some many times to the detriment of the ministry that they have left or they go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but you see,
And these are serious matters.
That's not important. The only thing that's important is pleasing the minister.
Mm-hmm.
If the minister is not happy with a permanent secretary, sorry, you got to go.
Yep.
You know? And
Well, put it this way, right? In 2001, when the ULP administration took office in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I will repeat this as often as I have to, the Prime Minister took the manifesto and made it a document of the Parliament with these words: no one who does not want to follow and to progress what's written in here can expect any position in this government. And all that you see day to day, time after time, were people who were known to be sycophants, obvious supporters of the party, even though the current rules of the political system says a person should not be. They have been prominent. There have been people who are senior public servants who have been on political platforms.
even you're a commissioner of police at one time.
Not one time. They had a function Sunday. The details for the primary security details was dressed in red.
Oh.
It's not just that they are there. They're dressed in the colors of the party.
So they were not in uniform?
No, they were not in uniform.
Wow.
And this has happened enough time. And these are things that I find, I couldn't be in the opposition. See, I can't think about it, make enough noise for them thinking, because they are wrong. They are blatantly, fundamentally wrong. They should not be allowed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Barbados last
crazy.
election. In Barbados last election, I think it was 2 civil servants dared to say they're going on the platform. And the head of the Public Service Commission sent them a letter and says, don't you dare put your
Exactly.
foot back on a platform.
Yeah, they're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to. It happens.
Well, that's
They're on radio every day, some of them, right? They mount political platforms. Good. So much so that in the 2010 elections, this is when the Prime Minister purportedly made this change, that persons who want to run, who are civil servants, they can resign their jobs, right? And they can run for election. Well, 3 members of the opposition did that. They were teachers. Until this day, they haven't gotten back their jobs. Because when they went and reapplied for their jobs, the PSC said to them, no, you can't. When they took the matter, no, this was a declaration between them, the union, everybody. It was signed off on. You know the Prime Minister told them after? Oh, that was an aspirational arrangement. But constitutionally, it cannot happen.
But you see,
And
but
he knew that all along.
so why did they take? I mean, I would have thought that they would know that the final person to give them that okay should have been the Public Service Commission.
But that's what I'm saying to you. But when the Public Service Commission is in their pocket and takes direction straight, what do you expect?
But did the Public Service Commission okay that?
Yes.
It did?
Yes. That's what I'm
And
telling
these people
you.
didn't take
So
that. They
when
didn't take that to court.
Well,
Which court?
No. Well, they took it. No. I think that is one of the matter. And what is interesting about this is that the person who is the speaker right now, I think he's the attorney handling that matter. But as usual, it's getting pushed, right?
Oh, it's on the same list with the petitions.
Well, the same kind of rotation, I guess. Right? But these are the things that people need to understand. And this is where you have the need of other civil service organizations and non-governmental bodies rising up and telling to the government, you cannot do that. But when a society lacks that other voice, that's when they get away with it. The Prime Minister met with them, they agreed, they signed the document. And after, because he's a lawyer, he knew. He told them that was aspirational.
Yeah, because it seems to me if you sign a document, that's a breach of contract.
It is a breach of contract.
Unless sometimes the devil is in the details.
Details,
so
right, but
what were in the details
well,
of that
that's what
contract?
I'm saying. The devil that was in the details was that they were trying to do something that the Constitution didn't afford them.
Yeah.
But he knew. But in an effort to trick them into the position clearly, he did it. So that when it came back around now for them to get the job, he told them, well, listen, that whole arrangement, the whole deal was really just aspirational.
I see it another way. If they had run for the party that won, that would have been a different story.
Obviously. Obviously. There's no question about that.
But they run for the party that lose, so
they run for the wrong party.
Exactly so.
Because I wouldn't want to see them running for the opposition and the opposition won government. And let us assume they wanted back their job as the Prime Minister of kicking them to court saying that they are acting, the PSU is acting ultra-virus to the Constitution.
Exactly.
And that would have been a nice case to see.
But it leads us to right into our discussion about democracy and where it is now. For democracy to work, the institutions of the state must work.
Yep.
And the Public Service Commission is a critical institution of the state. When that doesn't work, democracy is out the window. Absolutely out the window. And again, we have seen some questionable appointments to the PSC over the years. At least certainly here in Grenada, I've seen people appointed
Definitely here.
PSC chairman, and I'm like, why? And you see things happen within the public service and you say, oh, where is the PSC? Why are these things happening? And when
they dare not act. Dare not, if they want to keep their position.
And that is it. We cannot have, well, you and Mek We Chat already know how I feel about political parties. As far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't exist. They have no place in this system called democracy. But when you look at a political party is something which is a monster unto itself. It's not controlled by the state. It's not run by the state.
Doesn't answer to anybody.
Doesn't answer to anybody.
So who the permanent secretary report to?
The PSC?
The Public Service Commission.
So who is the head of the Public Service Commission?
Who is appointed by the government.
So
it's supposed to be isn't it a combination of
opposition plus
opposition
thing?
and
we know how that goes. We know how that goes.
That is a joke.
That's a joke.
Well, this system will work one way because there is no opposition in Grenada anyway. So if there is no opposition, then we can't expect anything to happen in the.
No. What is happening now is not just for now. It's just the way it has been.
Yes. No. And it's getting worse anyway.
Yeah. Because even when there was a parliamentary opposition, the PSC was always weighted towards the ruling party.
That's what I always know.
And it is party supporters who are usually appointed to the PSC.
That's right.
And because of that, they do whatever the political leader of the party wants them to do.
Yeah.
So they serve the party and not the government.
That is what's
and
happening.
That is where we have a problem in our society.
If I remember correctly, the former immediate past person in this capacity in St. Vincent was the Prime Minister's sister-in-law. No, don't laugh. I'm serious. And we take all these things and they just happen, and how people sit down and just accept it.
So she was part of Gonzalez Inc.
Yes.
Look,
correct.
I have told Jerry all the time, that St. Vincent is a plantation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a plantation run by the Gonzalez family, you see.
Clearly it is.
Every critical institution in St. Vincent has a Gonzalez or a Gonzalez family member.
I know.
Position.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you have the Prime Minister, you have the Prime Minister's son as Minister of Finance, you have the Prime Minister's wife as head of the Financial Services Commission.
You mean the Minister of Finance wife?
And isn't there one of them given some diplomatic appointment recently?
Yes.
His daughter.
Mm-hmm.
His daughter represents.
Yeah, but I accept. I am saying here is that Vincentians allow this to happen.
Yes,
in fact, when you speak about it, people say, "But if they qualify," I say, "Really? Which other country?"
Yeah, and they're
the only people qualify.
St. Vincent is a plantation, you see.
Grenada
may be heading that way too. The Minister of Foreign Affairs has appointed his daughter as ambassador, and the Minister of Finance appointed his son in some position he created in the ministry. So we sit back and allow this kind of nepotism, and
I like what you say. We sit back and allow it.
Mm-hmm. And
that's where the problem lies.
Yep. Until we, like St. Vincent, we realize that we're gone back to plantation days. And all the other plebs just have to stay out.
Yeah.
And hope that some crumbs fall off the table.
No, and as I said, there are people who defend it studiously.
Oh yeah.
Of course. People will defend it, man. Nothing wrong with that. And that is why when you look at what's happening in the UK, with the Westminster system at work, you have to laugh at what the Caribbean and talk about we're following Westminster system.
But in this situation, but we almost caught between the pincers. Here's what I mean. You're watching what is happening in the US in their system and realizing that when it comes to the defense of the institutions and to the insistence that the institutions work, America does not make jokes. You could say a lot of things about America, but there are certain things you don't mess with. And then you look at England and you watch something similar, that the people use the system.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, the difference there is, compared to the Caribbean, in the Caribbean, we have a prime ministerial, quote, so-called democracy, because it is the prime minister who makes every decision, initiates every action, everything.
Because in the US, I know that a lot of people follow President Trump very closely. Personally, I don't. But we have seen President Trump try to do a lot of things that he can't do because the system will not allow him to do it.
He doesn't have the authority to do it.
He doesn't have the authority to do it, and he gets pushed back on many sides, And the same thing in the UK. Prime Minister Theresa May would like to just roll through with her Brexit thing and get it done. But she has been getting licks, blows, and I call it abuse on all sides.
The pushback of our life.
Because there are systems in place to allow that to happen. Where in the Caribbean do you think a prime minister would ever come under that kind of pressure?
Never.
Oh, please.
Well, I mean, I think it happens that way probably in places like the UK and the US. because there's also an underlying philosophical construct upon which people operate. And you would hear Americans say over and over, whether it happens or not, because let's face it, a lot of times things don't happen as they ought
No, I
to
agree.
happen. But
Yeah.
one thing you would hear Americans say over and over and over, we are a country of laws. They
That's what
repeat
them.
over and over, we are a country of laws, So there's a philosophical underpinning there. The question is, what are we in the Caribbean?
We are country of the Prime Minister.
What drives us?
We are country of the Prime Minister.
What is the principle upon which, what is the
We are
driving
country of the
thing?
Prime Minister. Whoever's Prime Minister makes the law and the rules and does as they like. That's what, and people accept that is what it's supposed to be.
Well, and I'm going to say something I don't particularly like to say, but I hear it a lot. It's like, I eat a food.
That's it. That's
so wherever I eat a food, or however I eat that food, or whoever helps me to eat that food is the basis and the premise from which I'm going to do everything.
That's where my loyalty lies.
So if you move from that premise, it follows that everything else is just going to go to hell in a handbasket for.
And if you speak on issues or you come out and you say something, you're accused of not wanting people to eat our food.
Yeah, which is kind of like the argument that has been used against the teachers and the public servants asking for the 25%.
But you see, that is exactly why the pension committee has skewed the argument that way. If we pay you, we have to stop the money program. We have to stop the housing program. We have to stop the school book program.
You got to stop. You got to take. You wouldn't be able to take care of the single mother.
Yes, and don't get me started with that single mothers one. You see?
No.
I'm a single mother. I'm a single mother. So
I don't even want to get started on that either. So we probably need to just bypass that because
I hear one making a claim for. What's the other one claiming?
Who, me? Why should I have to? Let me ask you something. Why should I have to take up somebody else's responsibility? Where are the fathers of these children?
No, but I
Do you honestly think that these kids came here on their own? Since when your being a single mother became my responsibility?
Because
look
where
are the men? Go find the fathers. Here's what. And who wants to shoot me can. All right? Here's what. If you're going to have a child and you want to come to the state for aid, produce the father. You can't produce the father, guess what? You ain't getting no aid. Because here's what. That father has to pay up his duty. It's about time, because it's about time women stop having to bear the brunt of this at the end of the day. So guess what? Get that father to shoulder his responsibility. If he's not working, put him on the farms to work. Let him produce food to eat. But he can't sit there and have somebody else living on the backs freely. I'm tired of freeloaders. You know what? Nobody forced me to come to this country. I hate that I have to get up every morning under how much degrees to go to work. But whether I like it or not, I have to do it, right? So guess what? Why should I have to go through that hell to now come and mine a freeloader?
Well, okay, good. So your perspective is speaking to that as a taxpayer and resenting the fact that...
I resent it.
Hold on, I hear you. Hold on, but hear me through. But the people who are doing it, not saying that, they're seeing the number of women who are single parents who can give them a vote. This is what this is at, Is the vote potential that is seen. They're not seeing that they're taking that it's unfair to taxpayers. They are seeing the vote potential. And in their minds, the vote potential crosses over generation, because if they look after this child, this mother, and the mother tell the child that, boy, you see, it's such and such a party up. The child is the next generation of voters. That's all that is seen. That's what is. Yeah. Excuse me. That's what is seen.
And I am so on the same page with Margaret with this one. Because if they can't produce the father, Margaret, I go beyond that. You can't produce the father, go find a way to look after your children then.
Precisely. No state aid for you. Get the man here.
Exactly. You see, and because the woman, that invariably the men take off and leave the women with these children. So you as a woman, that you are the one who's going to be left with the responsibility to raise the child to raise these children. And if you can't produce the father, sorry, find a way to take care of your children.
Exactly. And not only that, by the state opting to support these single parents, I mean, I know it sounds bad to say, you're basically giving these guys a continual slap on the hand
Yes,
to tell them,
you're
yeah,
giving
you
them
go
a
ahead and do what you're
pass.
doing, and guess what? We'll take care of that.
Mhm.
That's gotta stop. You
But
gotta
why
hold
you
these
say
men
that is?
accountable.
But hold on, but Mark, why you saying that that song bad to say? That's the reality.
Yeah, because you're giving the men a free pass to
Yeah.
go around and have all these children and know that the state will support them so they don't have to,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
you know? And that is just what listeners coming out of the parliament of the country for the
Yes.
expediency of getting votes.
It's vote.
Exactly.
It's a vote issue, folks. It's a vote. Everything is about votes. How am I getting the next vote? That's what it's about.
Yeah, I'm
So,
tired. I'm honestly tired. You have to hold these men to task, to
of
account.
course, the men and the women who encourage them in their worthlessness.
Mhm.
Because some of
Yes.
these women already know that the man have 10 children that he's not supporting. And you go and give him number 11.
Because
Why?
because he gonna stay with you.
Yeah, because him don't support they 10 him about there. But your one is going to be so special that he's going to support it. No. Yeah, women need, I know that there are some real difficult issues within the social fabric where this thing is concerned that need to be dealt with. But outside of that, these worthless men and these worthless women need to go and fix up their life and stop burdening people who pay taxes to look after them children.
Definitely.
It's not the taxpayers' responsibility. Sorry.
Yeah. And these people doesn't realize is the taxpayers' money that is being paid. Government
No,
is
no.
not government money.
Well, that's what they're told. They're told it's government money, and
It's
they
government
feel that
money.
people
This
like
is
the
not
Prime
government money.
Minister
It's
or
people like you
parliamentary
and me and Margaret
representatives.
and we, George and all of us who have to work. We are the one who mind these people.
Yeah,
I'm
but you see,
tired of that. I'm
We
honestly
are
tired of that crap.
realize that we are the ones who paying you, minding you, not the government. Just have to realize that we are the ones who doing it.
Yeah.
These men are running outside there just dropping sowing wild oats and somebody else had to pick them after them.
Yeah,
You've got to be
Margaret
crazy.
is Margaret
Nope.
going out there in the cold working. She's the one that is minding you, not the government.
Where the government getting money from?
That's it. From her.
yeah,
We shouldn't go
just
there.
like how they command there, the next money and all the other monies, they make the nation feel it is their money and they have absolute right to do whatever they want to do. And we let them do it.
And these people don't
Exactly
understand
so.
that.
Precisely so. So
We
that
let
is
them.
why the argument is skewed to that. You know, if we pay these teachers, all of these programs gonna have to
Like
cut
that.
out. Well, hear me, cut them out. Cut them out and pay
Yep.
them.
Yeah, true.
And let us find some other way to continue with this kind of.
Yeah. And it's the teachers again who have to turn around and help these people. Because it's just
Exactly.
spend money
Exactly.
that's going to help them at the end of the day. I don't
The same
understand this.
teachers, out of their little meager pittance that they should be using for themselves and their family, they had to turn around and take to buy food for them, to buy school supplies for them, to buy
Because
sports supplies for them.
Plenty of these single parents sending the children to school for teacher to support them.
Yeah, they have nothing.
Teacher
That's
have to buy them food, buy them books, give them shoes,
Yes.
provide them with lunch, give them everything they need.
That is why the teachers need the 25%. That
Definitely.
25% is to make up for what they have to put out to take care of your child.
Exactly.
Yeah, single parents' children, because they have nothing to give their kids.
And let me make it clear again. When you talk about the single parenting, I'm not talking about the real issues that happen within the social fabric that need attention. I am talking about these worthless men and these worthless women who go around having these poor children, putting these children in some difficult positions because them worthless. And then you have our parliamentarians that you elect that are elected to represent our interests. I'm telling us that we have to take money to support them. They're not
Man,
sick.
listen.
They're not sick. They're not incapacitated in any way that they can't go out and work.
Exactly. They didn't lose a parent to some unfortunate accident or some illness or something of the sort. That's the people I'm responsible to. I'm not responsible to people who are wrong and healthy and could do stuff and support their kids, and I must mind their child. You must be crazy.
The only thing they use the health and strength to do is to have children every year. No. And this worthlessness is encouraged by the state.
It gets votes. It gets votes. All you could chat to all you want. It gets votes. Let's take a break. Let's take a break on this edition of Mek We Chat.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandance and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
Welcome home.
Spread some cheer and show you care with GRENADABROADCAST Give-A-Wish promotion. Do you know someone who has had a challenging year and deserves some good fortune, or a worthy cause that needs extra support? Grant them a wish this holiday season with GRENLEC. Just pay your bill in full, then write their name, address, and phone number on the top portion of your bill. Add your phone number and drop it into the wish box at any of our GRENLEC customer centers, or you can enter online via our Facebook page. 15 customers will receive a $500 electricity voucher for giving a wish to someone who deserves it. And 15 winners will each have their wish granted, valued at up to $1,500. What's more, 230 lucky customers will win $75 electricity vouchers. Spread the cheer this year with GRENLEC's Give-A-Wish promotion. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Promotion ends December 21st.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Chat with you this Thursday evening, Chime FM, and we certainly also on Facebook. Somebody tell me they're watching me. I have a smile, so I have to give the smile and all of that kind of things. Anyway, so yes, so we are back, and I think we have 1 hour left, and we have a couple other things I think we need to go to. You wanted to continue what you was reading before the break? During the break?
Yes, but she's probably going to have to start from the top.
Yeah.
Okay, I just...
And give the context.
Yeah.
Yeah. This story has popped up here in my news feed. The headline is Scotiabank Obligation for Decades of Profits, and it's written by Sir Ronald Sanders. Now, we have to understand that Ronald Sanders is from Antigua, right? And Sir Prime Minister Gaston Brown of Antigua has not been hiding or mincing words about how he feels that Scotiabank should behave in its decision to sell off its operations in 9 countries. So here comes Sir Ronald to the defense of his Prime Minister.
As usual.
As usual. So he says, a curious double standard is being applied by the Bank of Nova Scotia by its decision to sell its operations in 9 Caribbean countries to Republic Financial Holdings Limited of Trinidad and Tobago. In Canada, banks cannot be sold to foreigners without the express approval of the Government of Canada. The Canadian Banking Act is quite specific in 2 relevant areas. First, no bank or bank branch can carry on business in Canada without obtaining the approval of the Finance Minister and the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions. This is especially important in the context of the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of Antigua, Gaston Brown, insisting that his government's agreement is required before BNS can sell its Antigua holdings to RFHL or any other potential buyer. Second, while the Canadian OSFI assesses applications for the incorporation of banks and makes recommendations to the Finance Minister, it is the Minister who has the ultimate responsibility for approving the incorporation of banks and foreign bank branches. Importantly, in discharging responsibility to approve a bank, an important consideration is whether such approval is in the best interest of the Canadian financial system. Despite these existing circumstances in Canada, BNS is attempting to sell its holdings in 9 Caribbean jurisdictions without consultation with or approval from the governments concerned. And I guess we can stop there because I don't know what the laws in Canada have to do with the laws.
Well, that's the thing. Well, that's the thing I was going to ask. And secondly, is there such a banking act in Antigua, and what does that act state?
Exactly so.
Antigua has no banking act of its own. Antigua is part of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, and they can make no decisions, and they do have no direct regulatory what must I call it, control over what happens. But listen, folks, don't go so fast. The first premise on which that is based is dangerous. They cannot sell to a foreign. Trinidad, foreign.
Yeah,
exactly.
And the same other people just come out of thing telling me about CSME. Listen, let me move on. Let me move on.
Yeah.
Because them just annoy me with their nonsense. You see?
Exactly so.
How does is a Trinidadian company a foreign company?
No.
How does
the issue is
become a foreign entity?
Right. The issue is it's a Trinidad bank. Okay, so it's the crooked Trinidadians. The tricky Trinidadians want to steal the rest of the Eastern Caribbean money.
Who said that? And who said that?
That is the implication on the all of that.
Who's saying that?
I know.
Republic Bank is an institution that has been operating credibly and profitably in the Eastern Caribbean and in Trinidad, where it is headquartered, for years.
But Trinidad sold to RBC years ago.
Yeah.
So the whole thing, you see.
So this kind of parallel which Sir Ronald is drawing here between the laws of Canada and what is happening in Antigua, it's just plain rubbish.
Plain rubbish. Because in the first place, in two things. Foreign, to me, from the time I read that one, I just stopped listening to you.
Exactly.
But they make no sense. And the second thing is, Canada is a single entity on its own. It does not have a collective central bank.
Antigua is part of the currency union.
But you see, these people over the years have been the people to write and think that, and nobody has taken the time to take apart what they say. Them days over. Let's tell them no. Them days are done.
Done. You
Come with
think
that
because
foolishness.
you are Sir Ronald Sanders, when you write things, you must just read it out.
Just accept it, you understand?
I'm sorry, that's not the holy word.
It ain't going to happen.
That article, that is just
foolishness.
I could be bad, but I will stop. I ain't gonna say it.
They're good girl for once.
Yeah, there's a few more things I could add to it, but
they're good girl for once.
I'm gonna leave it. It has to do with milk and cocoa, but I will leave it alone.
That's true.
Yes, that's true. I totally agree on that one.
Yes.
But we had come out of the question of democracy, and let's segue into what is happening with Brexit. Because for one thing, I don't think that except for Jamaica, Jamaica is the only country that I know of that has sat down and determined where they are consequent upon Brexit. I don't know that that discussion has happened in any of the other countries. I don't know, but I know Jamaica has done it. Okay. Now, what are some of the issues we have to deal with here, and why is this matter such an important matter to us in the Caribbean? Because sometimes we don't pay attention. The top 3 countries, economies of the world: China, the USA, and Japan. The EU collectively is number 4. Number 5 by itself is Britain. You get me? No, Britain is part of the EU, eh? So that helps the EU to be number 4. Britain itself is number 5. You understand? I'm just saying all of you to get a sense of where all the battle is coming from. India is number 6. Brazil is number 8. Now, if England is so powerful, do you think the EU really wants England to leave? When you hear of the $1 trillion, when you hear of the billions of dollars per day that Britain has to pay to the European Union, then is when you get a sense of what this is all about. Now, how does all of this fit us in the Caribbean? I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but that is something that we have to pay attention to. An interesting thing happened, I think it was about June, with Windrush. Remember Windrush? Windrush, because at the core of Britain's action to leave the EU is the question of migration, of immigration. Angela Merkel took the decision to allow migrants to come from Africa and Middle East into majority, well, not just, well, the majority of the EU, basically speaking, because what the rule was for the EU. So you have countries like Poland and stuff that are overrun by migrants who are generally poor. They have different religions and things of that nature. And it has even cost Angela Merkel her presidency. She isn't completely gone, but she has won in 2 years. And it has certainly eroded her power over the years. Britain decided that they didn't want a part of this thing. And that is the main reason why Britain is attempting to leave the Union. Because if she's outside of the Union, the European Union cannot make a law that she has to accede to. In fact, that is one of the queer things about European Union. This is called the European Project, where these people who are not elected, the Commission, get there how they could, can make laws, can make policies that override the sovereignty of a country.
Unlike CARICOM.
Right. Yes, unlike CARICOM.
But isn't that one of the things of being part of a single market?
Yeah, well,
right.
You see, the difference is that the people who run it don't have to be elected. They have no responsibility to any single.
But isn't that the same thing in the Caribbean, though? Who runs CARICOM? Are they elected?
Yes, the heads of government.
The heads of government.
That's the difference. Listen, the CARICOM secretariat can't drink a glass of water except the heads of government tell them to drink.
Agreed it, exactly so. But flip it on the other way, in the European Union, the secretariat is who dictates to the government. So that is part of the problem, that the people who make the decisions in the EU don't have anybody to answer to. When they make a decision, the prime minister has to go and sell it to her constituents. Yep. All right, like it or not, she has to try and sell it because they have signed on. And so that is why Britain's saying, you see, this migration business, we're not having it. And that is the fundamental issue that they're trying to leave on.
But isn't that in itself? I mean, I don't know. The thing about that, though, is that it is racist on a lot of levels.
No. I disagree with that in the sense that it is because when you see what has happened,
it's the demonization of the other.
No. I don't think so.
No. Jerry, come on.
I disagree.
So these people come from the Middle East and Africa. So guess what? We don't want them here. because
But when they're coming over
they
in
have
their
lower
millions,
people.
listen. When they come in, you see, we could say that here because it will happen. When these people are allowed to come into your country in their millions.
Listen to this, Jerry. Hear yourself. These people.
But what is we discussing? Let's not get pedantic.
No, Jerry. Come on. These people?
Yes, the migrants. The migrants. That's what we're speaking about.
But you understand the negative connotation to that, though? So
but you might approach it as negative. Okay.
It's like they're less than. It's like, I mean...
Margaret, where you live there now.
People deserve to be treated with dignity and respect and everything else.
Where you live, it's not a question of dignity. I'm not questioning their dignity or respect. If you have where you live millions of people who just come in with nothing, but they're just allowed to come in and influence your standard of living, and you go to sit back and accept that?
Yeah, but Jerry, you think the conditions, okay. Let's look at the issue when you had the whole bunch of people that came in from, where was it, from Syria and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Who created the mess in Syria to begin with that led to what you had?
That's another side of the story.
It's not no. But you see, the thing is, we have to look at things in total. We can't simply separate and divorce things. You can't, because you destabilize a place and you created a condition, and then when the condition comes to haunt you, you have a problem with it. You see, we can't separate. You can't separate, Jerry.
You can separate. Once you do it on a logical, sensible basis, you can separate. But I am saying fundamentally at the end of the day, and I'm asking you, let's come to your house. If people were simply allowed to come into your house now, wherever the problem was created, whoever created the problem, but they're allowed to come and camp on your sofa or go on your step everywhere and affect your standard of living, will you accept it?
Jerry?
Because that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
In fact, it looked good, Angela Merkel and them said yes. Look what it's causing Angela Merkel now.
You know what? You know that migrant issue that the European country have to accept.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to research that, but I think this situation, I don't think Britain fall under that coast or that zone.
No, that is why Britain is coming out.
They don't fall under that.
That's the point.
Yeah, Britain doesn't fall under that. So I think Italy fall under it, Germany, and Greece, Poland as well. Poland said they're not going to take them.
Right.
Poland decided they're not going to take them. They simply make themselves categorically plain that they're not going to take these migrants. Yeah, but I don't think Britain fall under that. Okay, what the problem was, what I can understand living in this country, is that a few years ago, people was concerned about the loads of migrants, Eastern European people just flooding this country from the poor country like Romania and Poland and everything like that. And somehow we didn't have the infrastructure for that amount of people to come in. So we said, people raised concern, and they said to David Cameron, let's try and, people have no space, people have no place to live. These people coming in here, they have no job, they have no place to live, they're living on the street and all kinds of thing, and being victim to rogue landlords, making a little space for them to live in toilets and things like that. It was really, really horrendous. So I think the people raised concern in society, and I think the government said, let's try to take control of that. We got to try to prepare for these people to come here. You understand? Now we have jobs here. We have jobs for like 40,000, but we have 80,000 comes in. We don't have enough job to share to them. Okay, we could manage 80,000 a month, but there is 80,000 coming per day. We can't manage this. So the issue raised that David Cameron went to the European Union and said, can you give us some leeway to help us to have some control over the amount of numbers that coming in from the Eastern European Union? And the EU response was, if you want to control immigration, you're in the civil market, you can't control immigration from Eastern Europe, you got to control immigration from people outside of the European Union.
Right,
so
right.
That is where
which Caribbean means Caribbean people, exactly.
Generation was detected
exactly.
that they was living illegally.
Exactly.
That's when they try to make laws to tackle these people outside of
Right.
the European Union.
Correct.
That is what happened. But this flood of immigrants are coming where Germany takes another, Italy and have to take. I don't think Britain fall under that, but I need to research that. But this
No, you probably are right. I mean, I don't claim to know.
it's not Britain that's saying we don't want that. Britain never in the situation we don't want that.
What Britain saw is that they were heading in that direction. Because listen, once the people come into the European Union, there's a common border.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
There's
a common border.
Yeah.
So once they get in their millions and they're not happy and they're not accommodated, it's easy for them to simply spread.
Yeah.
And that is what they were trying to stop.
Yeah, so we as the citizens of this country got so pissed off when Britain when they they just you just fob us off. The EU just fob us off. I don't want to listen to you. Go and control immigration outside the EU. So if you want to control immigration, you got to leave. Fine, so we say we're gonna leave. That's all this lives matter. If you want to control them, leave. So now people from the Eastern Europe, after Brexit, people from the Eastern European Union will treat the same way as people from outside the European Union. Everybody's equal now. Because they shouldn't have the privilege, only priority and other people from outside the EU don't have the same priority. Removing that people should be for everybody. If that is the case, come on.
Catherine, a lot of people complain about Britain's treatment on the banana issue. Britain was told exactly the same thing when Britain still wanted to maintain the banana regime for these Caribbean countries. You know what they were told? They were told, look at the countries that just left the Soviet Union, where majority of them was $2 a day. And they told Britain, if you want to be in the European Union, here's what it is. You have people who making $10,000, you have per capita incomes of $10,000, but you want us to continue to support your trade to those people? No. Cut that off and put whatever trade you want in there. And every time people come and lambast that Britain's just abandoned the Caribbean, people do not understand what was behind all of that.
No, but Jerry, you've got to also take into consideration that the US took them to court.
Yes, I agree. They took them to court. They were the two things working. The two things work together. So that when they were trying to mount a defense against the US, with the help of the EU never supported it because that is what the EU told them. So obviously the US with all its big might won, and Britain, that is how we got the Stabex fund out of all of this, European Union Stabex fund. Britain was able to negotiate, okay then, fine. Let's get a fund for the African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries that we will have to abandon. And I only say that to say that sometimes people beat upon Britain as if they just one day decided that they were just going to walk out. That's not what happened. And that's why it's important to know the details of what happened. And you're right, it's when this happened that the Windrush generation was suddenly exposed. Exactly.
This is what EU order. Check the immigration outside of the EU. So they went and they did. Theresa May or whoever was in position as Home Secretary had to make laws, policies to detect these people who are.
That's why we had visas coming from
the Eastern European Union.
So since we're having this conversation, why is it okay for the Brits to protect their borders, but it's not okay for a Caribbean island to protect its borders?
Protect their borders from what? I don't know.
But I don't understand the.
No, because you talk about the free movement in the Caribbean, and you have those underlying issues, even if people don't want to openly say it. But a lot of people resent that because they see people coming to take their jobs as well. There's that underlying. So how is it different? You may not have migration in the numbers, but people still have. There are a lot of countries that have issues with that free movement.
Even with a free movement does not automatically mean that all controls are removed from the border.
No, and listen, even before you reach there, CSME will never create any mass movement and any people from one island to the next.
That's the point. Never.
It ain't gonna happen. Few people will move around, but it's not gonna happen. No, never. Not in the Caribbean.
Margaret, when I last went to Britain, I could hardly recognize the place. When you walk about the streets, the amount of languages that you're hearing now.
But what's wrong with that though, Jerry?
I am not saying anything is wrong. I'm just making a statement. Listen to me, please. I'm not saying nothing is wrong. I'm just telling you how Britain has itself changed so radically over a short space of time. So it is not that Britain has not been having immigration into Britain. That's the point I want to make. Because I remember when you go to Britain, the best you could get is fish and chips. Now you could just get about every single nationality cuisine.
Everybody know they couldn't cook.
Well, exactly.
The worst food on the continent was in England.
Don't ask me.
Sorry, John, but it's the truth.
I actually learned to eat Tabasco
Oh,
at
my.
college. They used to have these small bottles of Tabasco on the table, and I used to season my food as it went down. You put it to the fork and you season it and eat it. That's how I learned to eat Tabasco. But the point
It's the
is,
same
now if you went to
that added some flavor.
yes, but the point I'm making is not.
cocoa.
It's not that Britain
And
does
add
not
to that
have
milk.
immigration, because I find the amount of people I see. So it's not that they have not had immigration. Or they're basically saying, we don't want to open to this unfettered influx. And nobody will want that. Because at the end of the day, your taxes have to go up to support those people. That's the bottom line. Anyway, so I was just saying that was the heart of Brexit. And you made a point about the Windrush generation. But what has happened since all of this has happened is that we have Britain coming back around now to pay more attention to the Commonwealth countries, which under the old paradigm, under the EU, Britain had kind of, yes, she's still pet, they still have the Commonwealth meetings and stuff, but there was not as much given to this Commonwealth. But Britain has sent the signal right away. Hey, there is 140 countries, 140 countries in the Commonwealth, I think.
Or 150 something.
Something. Britain is looking for markets. She says, hey, well, these are people I could sell to. They were once our colony, so let's get ready for them. Britain has reopened some consulate offices in the Caribbean. But my point is, have we in the Caribbean really looked at how Brexit is either going to harm us or, on the other hand, benefit us? And I don't think so. I really don't think
and that's
we
the
have.
question I was going to ask you, Jerry, because I mean, I know, I hear you go the thing with this, and it's something that kind of like crossed my mind over the week when people say, but how it's gonna benefit you, and I'm like, yeah. So let's talk trade as you talk about. What do we have to trade?
We're not preparing.
You understand? So we still remain on as consumers.
Marijuana.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You know something,
but I
Jerry?
never said. But I not saying
Hold on. No, I was going to say, listening to you and with Ralph and stuff and everything, as you mentioned, right? I'm like, why is it that we are always the Johnny come late leads? You understand? Why couldn't we be at the forefront as opposed to now coming and pulling up the rear?
But that's the point.
I mean, really?
It's
you know what I was sitting and thinking? Yeah. So because somebody of a certain ilk say it's okay now, we say it's okay.
Yes, we can accept it now.
But in St. Vincent, hey, listen to the laugh of the matter. You have a product that can be sold legally, but there's an aspect of it that is illegal.
Still illegal.
Do we treat alcohol like that?
Exactly.
We don't treat alcohol like that. They might put measures on how much, but part of alcohol is not sold as illegal and part legal. So we have the same product. It's commercial, but it's still illegal.
Yeah, we're splitting hairs.
It's just ridiculous.
It is
ridiculous. So you have the same product that is both legal and illegal.
Depending on how you use it, what you use it for, it can be legal. Oh, please, give me a break. And
let's go to dangerous drugs that they use in the hospital, right? Dangerous drugs, yes, they can be used in a patient for certain things, but not in the wider market for general consumption.
What are you talking about the hospital? Do you ever walk into they just go and buy a OTC? Just walk into any one of your pharmacies and get one of them things, Feral, Compound, whoever else you all have there.
And you don't gotta go far, right? But that's the point I'm making. So there's stuff already there, but we have gone into this nonsensical position where one hand is legal and the other side is illegal, and I don't know how we plan to fix that.
Question I've always asked, when they say, okay, we are going to decriminalize possession of small quantities of marijuana. So when you see someone with a small quantity and you say they don't commit no crime, where they get the small quantity from?
But it gets worse than that, Beverly. If you have a small quantity of 2 ounces,
2 ounces, yeah.
you can be charged $500. Yes, because I'm telling you.
I didn't listen to the thing.
Listen to the other
I thought
part.
the 2 ounces was allowed.
Listen to the other part. More than 2 ounces. Listen to the other part. If you're caught with 2 grams, right? $75,000.
2 ounces versus 2 grams.
Whichever way.
What's the legal part then? What's the legal part side of it then?
The legal side of it is that if you produce under the license of the government and sell it off to these manufacturers who turn it into medicine, that's legal. But anything that's related to the recreational use is illegal.
So here's the other question for you, Jerry, then.
For me?
So when But I ask him because you're in St. Vincent, I'm not. So let me ask you something. So that which is produced legally, right? Is it going to be turned into the legal drug in St. Vincent, or is it going to be exported?
That's the part, and I made that comment a couple mornings ago. I say, listen, if all we're going to do is to produce this thing, and we don't have the factories that, because what is there to do to extract the oil? This is not rocket science. We can make lotions, creams, the sprays. I can't see why it can't happen here. If we
definitely go use it in a spa. A friend of mine come and tell me she went, oh, I went to the spa this week and I had a marijuana massage. I was like, what?
You told her that?
Yes, when you tell me, she said, girl, and I'm feeling so good now.
Feeling. Yes,
Irene.
And man, and if we could brand that, if we could get the branding of a Vinci marijuana massage, because St. Vincent and the Grenadines is known for as being a leader in this thing. We have a brand in this thing, but I'm seeing getting lost in all. I've heard so many weeks of discussion on this thing. I've taken very little part of it because, as far as I'm concerned, too much time has been wasted on one aspect. But what is interesting out of the St. Vincent situation is that they have pushed back the bill dealing with its religious use for Rastas. Yet, at the parliament, on one side of the street, you had the Rastas who supported the government, medicinal use. And on the other side of the street, you had those who are calling for recreational use. So even the Rasta community has been split right down the middle on this. It's tonight I seen on Facebook where they got the ones on that side of the street who had on the green jerseys with the marijuana leaf. Each of them got $100 to come to the protest.
Oh, what is this now?
I don't understand it, kind of foolish. I just really don't understand it. I don't understand how it is born.
You mean they corrupt my righteous Rasta, brother man?
Yeah, I tell them, I say, if you all think you could walk back to what you all were after this, I'll think again.
You mean they go and lie in bed with Babylon?
They have. They have. Give Antigua whatever you want. One thing that my man did in Antigua, he dealt with that matter and said, listen, the Rastas can use it for their religious purpose, and he asked for forgiveness and reparations from the Rastas.
Exactly so.
I expected that from a Ras Gonsalves administration. That's what I expected. Instead, that aspect of the legislation has been pushed on the back burner.
But why?
Because he said the Rastas came up with some good points. Well, I don't think we should have waited for the Rastas to come up with no good points. One, Antigua has legislation already, okay? And two, we know people. As I said the other day on one of my statements, in 2001, when Dr. Gonsalves was trying to get into office, he told the Rastas to come down to the mountain, that under him, right, he will make their life easier, because before that, in the heyday of interdiction, the US would come through ever so often and come and say they're destroying plantations. I actually went on one of those missions with them, okay? And it's when I realized how much marijuana was planted on that volcano. It frightened me. I mean, acres and acres. But the other thing is, these people now, the traditional farmers have to come for an amnesty by showing the police, showing the police and declaring where they grew it. Now, there is no guarantee that this amnesty that they talk about is automatic. Suppose you take them up and say, fine, this was my farm for the last 10 years, and they decide for some reason, okay, let me say, you're smoking a spliff. The police could arrest you right there, no?
But here's what. If what happens, I think the traditional farmers should learn from the lessons of the teachers who decided to run for elections.
Thank you.
Exactly.
That was exactly my point.
So.
And that is why I'm telling them, I say them publicly, this might just be one of those aspirational
exactly.
agreements. That's all that's
exactly.
Because all of these things going on, and the people, the real people who used to trade illegally and deal with the marijuana, who have the farms and everything, what is going to be their role in all of this?
Exactly. These people have been left out. Why not give these people an opportunity to turn their farms into legal production?
Legal entity.
Because here's what's happening. This is the most I've spoken on this subject, and I'll get me out in my thing. Here's what is happening. The farms that, because I speak to people at all levels of what is happening, and they say the farms that they are going to set up are mostly going to be greenhouse farms, and they are going to import the seeds to run those farms. You know what's going to happen eventually? And you could tell me?
But why would that do that? It would destroy the local crop.
And when you do that, only the people who produce in the greenhouses who control the industry.
Yes.
Those are the ones who are going to.
Oh my God! You know
and
what?
It's going to end.
Yes, it's going to end up the same way. The same thing that happened to corn.
I'm just going to mention corn.
Same thing that happened to corn is going to happen.
Once the pollen gets into the air,
you can't find any heirloom corn in the Caribbean again.
Nope.
Everything is Monsanto.
Exactly.
Everything is Monsanto treated. And the thing with that is, as you guys would remember, in the old days when you still had the heirloom corn, when people planted their corn, they would leave a certain amount to dry. So they would have plants for the next year. You cannot do that with the modified, with the Monsanto corn. You can't
because
do that.
They don't want you to do that.
So you forever indebted them to
they control the business. They control the business.
Oh,
who gets the seed? Who gets the seed to plant? Is who control the business.
That's it.
I mean, why would they want to do that?
Because
don't these people understand? I mean, and there's so much stories around the world where people get suckered. There was a situation in India with farmers and their rice. And I mean, these people literally end up going out of thing because, oh my good grief.
Instead, people get caught up with their politics, and that's why there's a
and you see, the problem is these people don't understand. They understand the whole global politics of this thing. You don't want that to happen. That is the end of your traditional thing. I mean, you would think. I mean, and here's an opportunity for employment. You talk about creating employment. These people had traditional farms. Turn the traditional farms into now legal businesses, so that they could now hire people to work with them.
But they have people work with them already, Just all they gotta do is legalize it. They're going to do it. Let me tell you something. Farming marijuana in St. Vincent is not a joke. I mean, let me see. I have a bat here in a dial bat, not mine. When I went up the hill, right, the hose were this length and shorter. You know why? Because of the steepness of the slope, you can't use a regular hoe stick. So when you stood up with this as a hoe against the elevation you're walking at, right? These people work hard. It is women often who took 100-pound sacks of fertilizer up that mountain. When I saw this thing, I was like, I cannot believe this. So people are accustomed to work hard farming this thing illegally. And I think another point that they have not understood is that once it becomes legal, the monies that they used to make, they're making it anymore. And they're now going to become simply a worker on some one of these plantations from somebody outside.
We're going back to them days.
But I don't know, boy. I don't know. Some days my heart just bleed because our people just don't.
Because
I don't
all they do is listen to politics. They don't take
Exactly.
nothing serious.
They listen to everything the politician says, right? And nobody else has their interests at heart but the politicians. So it seems.
You see, and the sad thing is too that probably these people also don't know, and knowledge also is power. So they're probably arguing and negotiating and every other thing from a position of ignorance, not having all the facts available to them and understanding the implications of these things coming in. Oh boy.
Well, I think we need to take our last break now and then come back with our wrap up.
Yep.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Or as I've seen.
Oh,
George, yes, we're back. Okay, yes, we're back. George is saying that we're back. Thank you very much, George. As we're back for our final segment of Mek We Chat, and we're still speaking the whole question of marijuana. And I'm using this bottle of clove oil, which is bigger than the vials I've seen for CBD. Something I would say half the size, $196.
Wow.
Half the size of this. I've seen it. So what I'm saying is that this thing has a tremendous...
Is that EC dollars, Jerry? Or
No,
US?
no, US, EC, US dollars.
Okay.
So what I'm showing you is that it has huge potential, right? And when you take a vial like that and you put that in a cream, there's a little portion,
Yeah.
maybe 3%
yeah.
of per volume or something like that.
Especially if you have the pure extract, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a tremendous amount of money. But if we continue to just be the producers of the
raw
material, we're
That
going
is
to end up
not
just
going
like
to- that's
sugar.
not going to help the economy, exactly.
We're going to like sugar, like banana, like cotton, like whatever.
We export cane and then we buy back sugar at an
Buy back sugar.
Yeah. Export cocoa and then we buy it back as my global tea.
Cocoa's the other one.
And
Cocoa,
Swiss
yes.
Miss and
Makes sense. Yeah.
And you think that the politicians today would understand that?
They don't care because at the end of the day, they're not affected.
They're not affected. They just get the money. They just get the money. They fast cash, and that's all.
When they figure they don't have enough money, they find another tax to put on.
Definitely.
Whether they like it or not. That's it. But they should also pay attention to the French Revolution. Too much taxes at the end of the day, what happened?
But it was the same thing in Bahamas where the people were demonstrating.
Protesting, yes, last couple of weeks. That's right. Too much taxes.
But it's the same thing that happened in France too. Taxes.
Yep.
Once people cut, but in right now in France as we speak now.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jean Valette, yellow vest, because the new climate arrangement added some tremendous taxes on them in keeping with the Paris Agreement. So when people have had enough, they will begin to protest.
Oh yeah.
There's no two ways about that one.
Remember, it was also the start of the American Revolution to taxes.
Yes. The Tea Party. People take so much and.
Oh yeah, when the taxes become burdensome,
they will respond.
Yes, so we want to look at the no confidence motion in St. Kitts Nevis. Yes, that one is laughable, but
it is laughable.
It's important that we.
So when was this? This week too?
Yeah. Wow. It was stable. Let me see if I pull it up here. No, I don't have it. Do I have it? It's easy to find. Yeah, but it's this week. The current leader of the opposition, Dr. Denzel Douglas, has tabled a motion of no confidence. Now, there are a couple of things happening in St. Kitts, and one of them has to do with the fact that they've been asking the government to give the IMF permission.
Tuesday it was, Jerry.
Tuesday, right. They've been asking the government to give the IMF permission to publish the last IMF report, and the government has studiously refused. But what is interesting is that the government has announced that there's a double salary for workers this Christmas. I think another segment is getting $500 as a one-off payment.
People who earn $3,000 or less or below $3,000, they're getting $500 every
Christmas. Everybody. Okay.
Wow.
But yet, a country that is prepared to do that would not allow the IMF last report to be published. So huge question marks. And not only that, one of the countries that has done very well with the CBI program. But having said that, they found out a scheme that is going on where some of the agents and the developers are underselling the product and keeping the majority of the money. So there's a whole fraud scheme that is going on over that. And I suspect with all those things is why Denzel Douglas has called for a motion of no confidence. It says this, okay? The opposition St. Kitts Labour Party has filed a motion of no confidence in Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris. The motion in the name of the leader of the opposition, Dr. Denzel Douglas, has been submitted to the clerk of the St. Kitts and Nevis National Assembly in accordance with Standing Orders number 27 of the Rules of the National Assembly. Quote, I hereby give you notice of the presentation of a motion of no confidence, a copy of which is attached, and asks that it be noted in the order book of the Assembly for tabling and debate as a matter of grave urgency. I will stop right there. Politicians are the greatest people. When Denzel Douglas was the government, the prime minister.
When he was the prime minister.
You left me with, and I said when he was the government. Leave me alone. Talk about prime ministerial dominance a while ago.
Same difference there. Can't blame her.
Yes, she's nice. The opposition, the then opposition tabled a similar motion of no confidence that took 2 years and would not be brought to be debated. The matter got to the stage where it had to be taken to this Privy Council just days shy of an election. Because what they were attempting to do was to change the boundaries of the constituency. And it took the Privy Council to fix that old problem. But this man says this is a matter of grave urgency. This clearly wasn't urgent, no.
When he was sitting in the seat of Prime Minister, there was no urgency.
Absolutely. 2 years was a short time.
How dare they come with that?
He probably 1,000 years in his sight as one day.
Yeah, it's just a day.
You're too bad.
But that's what I say. Because let me make this point, and I will ever make this point. The only politician in the region, or anybody in that political power, who made a fuss about this was the then leader of the opposition, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Adam Eustace. In fact, that Timothy Harris came here and was able to mount a protest when the heads of government were meeting here.
I remember that.
Yep.
I clearly remember it.
That it was all up in the face.
Exciting story.
But and not a single sitting prime minister thought it was an issue. When it was forced into their faces, right? At that same intersessional here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they were forced to answer questions about it at the press conference.
Right.
But until then, none of them had said a single word on the matter.
Oh no. And since then they haven't either.
No. They haven't.
Because he's a sitting prime minister, so you don't raise questions.
No, you can't question it. You can't.
Even it goes back to this what we're talking about, the question of nibbling away at democracy. These look at what happened in Britain this week. This vote of no confidence what was within the party structure. It wasn't across. It wasn't parliament. It wasn't a parliamentary cross-parliament decision. It was the members of her own party, the Tories, the Conservatives, that tabled that they did not have confidence in her as prime minister. They have some 1922 commission that they have to appeal to, which they think they needed 48 letters or something like that. Is that the case, Catherine?
Yeah,
right.
48 letters.
Yeah.
But at least the process will come to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the government turns a motion of no confidence into a motion of confidence.
A motion of confidence. Now, very often we talk about the most ridiculous thing we've heard. But this is right up there.
Right up there.
I've heard.
Right up there.
A motion of no confidence into a motion of confidence, and then
and debated it,
And they debated it.
Yes.
I don't think it needed any debate. So how come it's triggered?
But they stood there for hours debating it.
Wasting taxpayers' money.
But having said that, French President Macron, I think, is tomorrow.
No, man, they had that. I think they
it
had
was
that
today
already.
Oh, wait, so you won it then?
They say he scraped through.
Oh, he's But we need to really have a discussion on this question. We kind of hinted of where democracy is going.
Sorry. Not that he scraped through. They say he got through quite handily.
Like how Theresa May got through 200 to 1 to do 200 to 117.
Yeah, they say. And it's funny, the analyst in the UK says that was not a good win for Theresa, because that was like a third of the party voting against her. If they had gotten like about 80 votes against or somewhere in that region, it would have been good. but having more than 100 of them vote against her is not a good testament to her leadership at all.
She survived.
Yeah, she survived.
That is at the bottom line. She's still
Yeah,
Prime Minister.
that's all that counts.
That is what matters. She still has the levers in her hand. That's what matters.
Yes, they say in Macron's case, they fell short. They fell well short because they needed 289 votes and they only got 70.
Oh my God, no, that is way short.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that, Macron, by and large, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he was elected. Great fanfare, very popular. Seems that he would be changing the whole face of France. Look what is happening. And it is that people are fed up of, and that is why Brexit is going to be touch and go. If the will of the people who voted to leave is thwarted, democracy, well, there's some people who are saying that Britain might have a civil war on their hand, right? I don't know. But what is that, Catherine?
No, I don't know. I don't think it'll happen.
I don't know. I mean,
you're afraid to take a figure?
Percentage wise, I mean, if you look at it from the perspective, Jerry, of, a win is a win regardless of what. But I mean, I would say if you look at the percentage of who voted for and who voted against, I don't see a big significant, a landslide in terms of that. A statistician may argue that,
3% in those numbers.
But what has happened, right? I'll tell you what has happened, because is that even some people who were Remainers are upset with the way that the EU has been treating England. So they're saying that even the polls are showing that even some of the Remainers are so upset, not necessarily because they wanted to remain, but they feel that the EU has been too high-handed.
Well, I mean, I think, but you have to realize that nobody wants to come out a loser in this situation. Don't fool yourself that the Brits are not trying to get their own over too.
Absolutely.
Because the Irish question is a big issue in that, with that backstop and everything else. That's a pretty big issue that that you can't just overlook. And I think that's kind of like the main issue in this whole thing.
It is.
At the end of the day, so it's not as if,
No, but I read a piece today, right? One of the commissioners said, listen, he says, no party, either the EU or the Brits, will ever get to that backstop. He said, because if you go to that backstop, it's not going to go to hurt Britain. It's going to hurt the European Union. He said, it's there. But dare anybody pull that plug?
And the Irish. I mean, the Irish don't want.
But you remember what happened? No, but you remember what happened with the Irish and Britain? I've been in Britain them days when it's free to pass a dustbin. These people fought. The Northern Ireland thing was not a joke.
Of course.
So to kind of push people back to it, that's what
they don't want it. Exactly.
No,
the Irish do not want it.
He says, listen, he said that backstop thing. He said neither the EU nor the British dare touch that if it ever gets to that.
The Irish don't want it. They don't want it. Yeah, they don't want to be separated. In fact, I saw one article where they were even hinting that maybe they should just move away from Britain altogether.
Which is something I've kind of wondered why they had never done.
Yeah.
But I suspect they must say, well, they're part of the EU already, so they really can't move far. Yeah.
So,
Folks, 2 minutes to go. A minute and a half, probably.
Yeah. It's a big change for the entire European Union, and especially for the people of the UK. It's
going to cause tremendous thing around the world, because whatever happens there is going to affect everybody.
At the end of the day, nobody's going to escape unscathed, because you know what?
Nobody.
The Brits can say what they want. They need the Europeans as much as the Europeans need them, inevitably.
Yeah. But I still say countries have been out there trying to make it on their own. So UK, welcome to the club.
No, well, you can tell you that they wanted that, they maintain their own currency and all the rest of it. You have to give them some pips. They were able to at least negotiate that bit so far. But it's probably something by next week, I'm sure things will change in terms of all of that. Folks,
Yes.
thanks again for joining us for this edition of Mek We Chat. Again, Margaret, Catherine, thanks for staying up late as usual. George, thanks for manning things at the control there. And thanks again for joining. I'm Jerry George. On behalf of the entire crew, saying the suspects, that is, have a great week, the rest of the week. I'll see you again next week. Yes, to get that right. God bless.